Hello, welcome to episode 4 of The Fix, Big Show Entertainment Network, to the next tier.
Yeah, welcome, Chase.
I feel welcome. Do you feel welcome?
Hey, welcome. Hey, who's that over there? Kevin, welcome.
Oh, welcome, Jeffrey. Welcome, Chase.
Hey, welcome.
You there, guys. Howdy.
Hey, guys, I got a big show for you today. Today, we're starting off with the games. We're going to be talking about the future of single-player games. And Kevin, what are you going to be talking about?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today, in the car segment, I will be talking about a brand new race car that Toyota is building, but it's street legal. And then also, BMW is coming out with a new series. I'll be talking about that here shortly, so stay tuned. Jeffrey, what do you have?
A red microphone in front of my mouth. I also have some technology that I'm going to be reviewing today, as far as we've got a microchip that helps out people that are stuck in buildings. And then we've also got a Google City that is on the horizon, sparkling, shiny, and bright. And then the last thing is dogs.
Well, cool. Let's get right into it. Starting off with video games. What is the future of single-player video games? Because it seems now, over the past few years, gamers have been wondering what the evolution of the single-player is going to be. We seem to be living in a multiplayer era, honestly, because Bethesda just announced Fallout 76, which is multiplayer focused. BioWare, a company known for their single-player narratives, such as Dragon Age and Mass Effect, they're switching over to Anthem, which is a little more social. Black Ops 4 is going to be releasing without a single-player campaign. Fortnite has 125 million players. GTA 5 is still a powerhouse 5 years after they released their online component. And Nintendo's E3 announcements were mostly multiplayer focused. So the world of multiplayer keeps developers engaged because it's easy to monetize. I mean, what can you pay for in a multiplayer game? You could pay for loot crates, armor modifications, loadout slots, DLC, the ability to win in some cases, yeah. The top 10 best-selling games of 2017 were, in fact, multiplayer-focused, except for 2 games, and that was The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Horizon Zero Dawn, both of which were published by Sony and Nintendo, and were
Excellent games.
They were excellent games, but they were made for those platforms. They were exclusives. So first-party companies like Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo, of course they're going to still fund these single-player games to promote brand loyalty and sell their products and their hardware. But what's the incentive for third-party developers to keep on building these single-player narratives when it's so much easier to make money for these multiplayer games?
Well, pass the red mic to the red man. I think we'll get some.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. That's kind of a tough one, Chase. I do have to agree that multiplayer games are the way of the future. Just in general, connecting people. Everybody wants to play with their friends and everything. You know, with the invention of the internet, bringing people together via games is huge, right? You can't really do that so much with single-player games. So how are single-player games going to change? How are they going to progress? I'm not entirely sure at this point. I really hope to God that they continue to grow and progress. Some of my best memories were, playing Halo, the campaign by myself, That was a beautifully done game, but, I'm not entirely sure how they're going to progress, although I really hope they do.
Yeah, it seems like the whole problem here is we're going to get less and less single-player games if these third-party companies aren't going to be able to afford them.
Well, I think we should completely and totally ignore the big companies for this point in time, at least to a certain point, because we do have those huge things out there for crowdfunding, such as Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Fig, these huge funding platforms where you can pitch directly to the people that will potentially be your customers. And I say if you've got a good pitch, if you can convince me that you've got a good video game, I'll give you the money. So, I mean, it's not about the money, I think, at this point, especially since I play a multitude of pixelated and very small games that are actually some of my favorites of all time, Binding of Isaac, Talomere, these classics that nobody's ever heard of hardly, as well as there's the whole single-player experience where you get to be the hero of your own story. If you want to go it alone, you can absolutely go it alone. If you want to be the lone wolf, if you want to be the chosen one, if you want to Fusrodai your way through the world as the Dragonborn, that is ultimately your decision if you want to save the world or destroy it. And I think that type of powerhouse feeling is what kept a lot of people coming back to video games all the way back to Doom. I mean, you've got this unstoppable demon-killing tank of a man it's spitting out one-liners. It's just a beautiful feeling, and it's really empowering, and I think that's what video games are always meant to be.
Yeah, and I don't think single-player games are going to go away altogether. I don't even think that's in the equation. But they certainly have to change, and they certainly have to get their money from somewhere, especially these small companies with big ideas. And crowdfunding, yeah, it's a great way to kickstart a game, but it's unreliable in some cases. If you sell your game correctly and it turns out to be really well, then you can make another game and continue on with your life as a video game maker. But if you don't get that initial start at the beginning, if for whatever reason it doesn't go your way and you don't get any money from the crowdfunding, then you're stuck in the water and your brilliant idea of a video game may not be released. It's hard to say. So Strauss Zelnick, CEO of Two Take Interactive, he says single player, in my opinion, is not dead, not even close. Companies that feel like they just avoid the hard work of building a story and the characters and go right into where the money is in multiplayer, I don't think that's going to work. I'd be surprised. And so I know single-player games aren't going to go away, but how are they going to change from this point forward?
Not entirely sure, man. Like I said, I really hope that they progress. I really do. I think there's a kind of... there's definitely a difference between, playing by yourself and like really involving yourself and immersing yourself in this game versus, kind of just messing around, dicking around with your friends online, constantly like, I don't know, say like Call of Duty, constantly dying over and over. Where's the fun in that, Where's the campaigns? Where's the story modes and stuff like that? That's what I want.
Yeah, and that's what I want too.
So I think this is an interesting intersection as far as the gaming community, because we do have, as you were saying, these big companies that were usually known for those single-player games that are now bringing out multiplayer experiences. But this isn't exactly a new concept. We do have the whole concept in Dark Souls where you can be invaded in your world, but only if you allow it to be so. The same thing with a lot of things like Borderlands or Minecraft. And I believe in Fallout 76, from what we've seen from all the Fallout games, these maps are massive. If you truly, truly want to be alone and not interact with any other players, I think you can manage it for the most part. But if you want to play with your friends, I think you can do that as well. And I think that's the beautiful, happy medium between connecting everyone around the world and still preserving the sanctity of the single-player experience.
I think I might have to agree with that. Moving on to the car segment, Kevo's got some big things brewing up in that old noggin of his. Let's see what he's got.
Ladies and gents, welcome to the car section today. So, I'd like to start off with a question. So, how many of you would want a race car, but it's street legal? Well, guess what? Toyota is making that dream come true. So, they're creating a street legal race car, right? So this thing's going to be called the GR Super Sport Concept. So right now it's technically a concept, but they're going to be building just a few of these and producing them and everything. Now, let me give you some stats on this guy. So, it's a 986 brake horsepower monster. It's run by a twin-turbo 2.4-liter V6, and it's going to be falling into the hypercar category. Now, what is a hypercar? A hypercar is the top 1% of all supercars. So, it's the best of the best, right? So, here, let me show you guys some pictures here. So, as you can see, it's like legit an actual race car. I'm not entirely sure what good this would be, on the street. Like you hit a speed bump and the whole thing like breaks in half. That being said, I think it's really sweet. It's an amazing looking car.
Yeah, it's really got that Formula One vibe to it too. And with 986 horsepower, that is insane. That's way too much to have on a street, but I want it.
So we've got this whole thing of like hypercars and supercars here. So a hypercar is a supercar, but a supercar is not a hypercar? Huh, interesting. So what's like... All right, lovely. Just wanted to clarify that for the viewers. That's the top 1%. All right, so, I mean, what are the contenders for this guy right now? Do we know?
You know, there are some other contenders out there. I'm not entirely sure which ones, but there are, other manufacturers out there that are trying to produce, street legal race cars. But this is Toyota's version of it, and,
Would a Bugatti be able to stand up to this?
Bugatti's probably going to have a higher top speed, but this thing's going to get off the line much quicker. So moving on, let's say that you don't really have the money to, be buying this sort of Toyota, this race car or something. You want... Yeah, you definitely don't. But you want something a little bit more practical.
Call them out.
I can already feel the shade.
On that note, BMW is coming out with an all-new 8 Series. That's right. So a brand new 8 Series BMW. They're going to be coming out end of June 2018, which is right about now. Yeah.
Actually, yeah. Before this episode is released.
Yeah, it should be like out right now. So go check them out and everything. They're gonna be coming in 2 different engine sizes, right? So there's gonna be the 840D xDrive and then the M850i xDrive. Now let me go a little bit more in depth into each one of these. The 840D xDrive is gonna be a 3.0 liter straight inline 6 turbo diesel. It's going to be producing 316 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 in about 4.9 seconds. So it's pretty quick.
Okay.
But, Chase, I know you like speed.
Well, I mean, I sit around half my life and decide I could be going faster right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jeffrey?
I occasionally partake in speed.
On that note, we do have a quicker version. It's called the M850i xDrive. So believe it or not, this thing's going to be coming in a 4.4 liter V8 twin turbo version, right? So it's going to be producing 523 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. It's about 1.2 seconds quicker than the 840D version.
Wow.
Right. So it's surprisingly quicker. Now, there's kind of a caveat with this. It's a little bit more expensive.
As I would imagine, yeah.
Just a little bit. How
much are we talking here? Are we talking a couple thousand? A few thousand?
More like 24,000. So the 840D comes in at about 76,000 pounds. The M850i comes in at around 100,000 pounds. That being said, it's about a $24,000 price difference. I think I would still have to go with the M850i version. It's got a V8 in it, more power, more everything. I love it. And that's just, the style of BMW. That's how they do it.
I mean, obviously they're going to go big, but yeah, for the price of your teenager's first car, you can upgrade it.
I mean, as far as what was it? Let's see, 840 Ds in a row. That's about my score that I got in most of schooling. So I can be with this car on that level. I do think that the M80 has a bit more of an explosive content to it, though. So I definitely have to go with that one.
I want to know. So the smaller engine, which one was it?
840D.
The 840D xDrive is it's a straight line, right?
Yes.
So what does that mean compared to a regular engine?
So the inline 6, so instead of, like a V6, it's going to have 3 pistons on one side, 3 pistons on the other side. Mm-hmm. The straight 6 has 6 pistons all in a row.
What's the benefit of that?
So, I'm not entirely sure, but one of the benefits is more, is it torque? I think it's torque. I think it has more torque and everything. It runs a little bit more efficiently and everything like that.
It's just tougher to maintain, isn't it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. All right, guys. So I have a picture here of the BMW. Obviously, it's the stereotypical like BMW look and everything like that. Honestly, I think it looks amazing.
Class, style, comfort, BMW.
Exactly. Everything that you're looking for in a BMW. It's a little bit bigger and everything like that. But I actually really enjoy the looks of this car and everything. Also, keep in mind, the summer of 2019, we're going to be coming out, or I guess BMW is going to be coming out with an M8 version of this car. It's going to be even more godly than the M850i. So stay tuned, and hopefully we'll be reviewing that as well. And on that note, Jeffrey, what do you have for us today?
Alrighty then, so we're going to be delving into some tech stuff over here on the nerdy side of the table. Today we're going to be talking about sense, essentially. Yeah, that was a good one. Alright, sorry, I had to laugh at my own joke for a second there. Didn't even realize it would be that. So, what do you guys think of sense? Like, what sense are we talking about today? What do you think?
Are we talking like, money sense?
Possibly.
Okay, well, what about, like sense as in I can smell your scent?
Also possible.
Chase?
Incentive.
Hey, that makes sense. Compared to the nonsense we usually speak, yeah. No worries. So, I'm gonna need... Yeah, there we go. Alright, I was waiting for that one to land. Alrighty then, so... I'm gonna have you guys do some imagination experiments today. So close your eyes, and I need you to think about motherboard, right? Up close. Just really, you're kind of swooping through it, diving through it. What are you imagining right now?
I imagine sprawling circuitry made of gold, aluminum, copper, and plastic.
I can smell solder, and I can see metal and plastic combining into man's effort to better society.
And I smell a tryhard with smoke coming out of his ears, but regardless, we do what I see with a motherboard is a sprawling futuristic cityscape. You've got robots kind of carrying around things for their humans, and you've got equality, eco-equality specifically, up to the tops, absolutely great, and internet just everywhere, alive, everywhere, not just in the wires or in the air, but truly a living, breathing thing. Now this does sound like a utopian paradise, and potentially a fantasy, yes?
It sounds pretty fantastical.
Well, if that were a word, I would fantasize that, but no, in fact. Alphabet, the owner of Google, is very close to creating their own city from what Dan Doctoroff, the owner, or rather the CEO of Alphabet, says, from the internet up. This will be taking place on Toronto's eastern waterfront, a fairly dilapidated place, really trying to revitalize with this effort. The data is the most important thing of this operation, as Google is known as this data powerhouse. Nobody goes to Bing, nobody goes to Ask Jeeves or just Ask.com, all those are off to the side. Whereas, you see Google and you immediately say, what do they know? Now, what they will know about you and their city is the traffic quality, where are things flowing, where are things not flowing, how can we improve it? The air quality, can you breathe, are you not breathing, how can we resuscitate you? And then noise pollution, as far as is it too loud to go outside, and should we really, move the neighbors out from downstairs type thing. This will also include optimized power usage, so for as much power goes out, an equal or maybe a little bit lesser amount of power will be recycled, as whatever, the water that's flowing through will power a piston or things like that to make sure that we're not wasting this, as well as waste recycling with microbes eating all of your trash.
Oh.
So
I don't have to do it.
Yeah, you don't have to eat your trash anymore.
Oh, thank goodness.
Isn't that great, Kev?
That's fantastic, Chase.
Yeah, eggshells are the hardest because they just crunch too much. I don't like.
Still eat both of your trash. You're charming gentlemen, truly. Now let's see. Also, Google, or rather Alphabet, will never let another rainy day ruin your day, because there will be no more rainy days if they will it. That's right, Alphabet's controlling weather, or more specifically, giant plastic tarps to cover up your area to make sure that you don't get rained out of in your parade, as well as warming your tootsies on the sidewalk, making sure that those cold winter days aren't so cold after all.
I'm pretty sure that wouldn't be for your feet. That'd probably be for like what, snow and ice, so you don't slip and bust your noggin.
Well, they're not for your feet, Chase. This is an elite place. Now, with megacorp worries, you just kind of have to say, what can't they do? I'm sorry. What can't they do? And that has Denzil Manan Wong, deputy mayor of Toronto, questioning a lot of the motives of this mega corporation as far as privacy concerns, especially when you have cameras and sensors always collecting information. Can you really filter out the things that you don't want to know?
No, you really can't, honestly. And it's the idea behind the difference between security and convenience. They're completely separate concepts. You can't have both. You know, if you have 10 locked doors, you're going to have to unlock each door to get on through.
Agreed.
So, I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I think that this is a good concept and everything, but you can't really ever, have enough privacy, right? So it's kind of like the Big Brother concept, right? So if they want to listen in, on your electronic devices, even here, not say in this motherboard city, they can still listen in. They can hear what they want to hear. You don't have as much privacy as you think. So I kind of think, if they want to listen in, they can listen in either way. So.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to stop them either way. So.
Yes, the lizard men will rule eventually. And so with that, we have Sidewalk Labs claiming transparency when really practicing a little bit of cloak and dagger on their part, not going through actual Toronto proper, but waterfront Toronto, the people that control that specific area. So really, it's kind of in the dark for the officials of Toronto how much land that Google is going, or rather Alphabet is going after, as well as even what the city's purpose will even be at the end of the day. So it ultimately comes down to, is gray water recycling, aka, the water from your dishwasher or your shower, bathtub, that type of stuff, is gray water recycling worth your privacy?
To me, it's not. Well, no, it is, but I wouldn't sign up for the city in its initial stages.
Right,
I think that's where I'm at. Yeah, no for the first 20 years, I'd say, as long as the city's being, getting all the kinks out and making it more efficient.
Right. And what about you, Kev? Would you live in the city?
So I do have to agree with Chase. I think the initial stages are going to be very rough and basic. But once they work through those kinks and everything, I think this could be a fantastic city to live in. If Google or, Alphabet is gathering all this data to make the city, less pollution and, run more efficiently via traffic and whatever else, I think it could potentially be a very nice and decent place to live in. So yes, I would like to live there.
Lovely. Well, contrary to these two, I will be moving in as quickly as possible because, as we all know, vaults fill up very quickly. So moving on to, before we move on, actually, only time will tell if this city built from the internet up will end up having connectivity issues. So what do you guys, I'll spoil this one for you. This city makes sense when you think about it, It makes sense. So that's that one.
I get you.
Lovely. So we're going to have another imaginary exercise here. It's a very real exercise, but I need you to imagine this, all right?
Okay.
So you're in an abandoned building, right? You've been laying there for hours, you're bleeding out, your arms gone, children are screaming, and the angelic or possibly demonic choirs are singing to you, calling you to the afterlife, when suddenly something crawls through and peeks into the abyss, giving you one last peek of hope. What is it? Is it a spider? Is it, I don't know, maybe a lot of spiders? No, it's a microchip.
Well, I got some good vision if I can see a microchip coming at me through rubble.
A lot of spiders, too, I guess. Yeah. There's a lot of spiders in rubble. But yeah, it's a microchip.
Like me.
Yeah, it's a microchip, and it's coming at you, man, and it's here to save you, contrary to what James Cameron would have you believe with Terminator. So, with that, ETH Zurich and Sotiris Pretsinis, the professor of process engineering, good lord, that's hard to say, is the professor of process engineering over at ETH Zurich, the college over there, has created these chips with the help of students that have a commercial CO2 sensor and a moisture sensor, two things that we just can't stop producing. I'm producing a lot of moisture right now. I think you guys can feel it on the microphone, as well as my CO2 levels are just off the scales right now, as well as acetone and isoprene are the other sensors that detect exhalations, and ammonia, which is a skin emission, but also is in your urine. So think about that.
Wow,
Yeah, exactly.
He's doing quite a bit right now, actually.
Oh, absolutely. Possibly not all on the top side, but, you know, Kevin gets a little nervous. It's all right. Most of these, though, are larger than suitcases, but ETH, Zurich, and Sotiris Protinus are cornering the market because this is the size of your fingernail, hardly, and a little bit smaller than that, even, and are far more precise, as most of the sensors have just the CO2 or the ammonia, and this can cause false positives where humans aren't actually. Now, dogs are still preferred because, you know, microchips are a little bit scary, you know, if this robot kind of crawls and like, must save humans. You know, they're going to die of a heart attack rather than just starvation or, you know, smoke inhalation. As far as that, it is a little bit more convenient because you do have to take care of living things. You have to make sure that dogs survive.
Yeah.
Something we want to imbue to all of our viewers out there. Don't kill your pets.
Yeah, keep them fed.
Exactly.
We keep Kevo fed.
Most of the time.
6 eggs a day.
Unless he's a bad, bad boy. Now, with that, it is good to know that with this convincing of evidence, I only have one thing left to say. Can you smell what Protinus is cooking? Now, that's a hint for what our second scent is. What is it, boys?
It's smell.
There you go. Scent.
smell.
S-C-E-N-T-S.
I smell what you're putting down, Jeffrey.
Yeah. I can smell you from over here. I can taste it a little bit, too.
That's the ammonia.
I mean, give or take. You know, beggars can't be choosers. Chase is just about to sit down, but I'm going to start anyway. So our next subject is actually, oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Something that can sniff the chips right back. And not just the Pringles, Kevin. We're talking about dogs sniffing out microchips. That's
I
right.
thought that was goldfish, the snack that smiles back, sniffs you back.
We're not sponsored. So with that, we're talking about the goodest boys and girls with boopable snoots. And they are puppies, man. Those dogs, those adorable little scamps wandering around, playing, and putting you in jail, Chase, for what you've done. You don't have to say it on camera, but you know what you did. That's right, these dogs aren't here to rescue you or respect you, but rather convict you and put you in jail where you belong. You know who you are. Subway guy. So with that, we have Harley, the cybercrime detector dog that sniffs out microchips any place you might be hiding them. Yes, even there. So with that, every single microchip has a specific residue on it from every manufacturer, and it is, say it with me, children, triphenylphosphine oxide. Yep, that's right, triphenylphosphine oxide is on every one of your microchips. Don't eat them anymore, they're not safe.
So, I don't know. What do you think?
Damn it, what was the question? Wait, no, hold on. What was the question?
I assume we're going to edit this part out.
Yes.
So yeah, privacy concerns. Can you really edit out the things that you don't want to know?